Hello everyone, my name's Kai Bachini and this is F1 Online Decoded.
Hi guys, and welcome back to episode 5 of F1 Online Decoded. Now today should have been race day for the 2020 Monaco Grand Prix. With no Formula 1 in sight, and in this difficult period we find ourselves in, what better way to get through it than by listening to this great interview we have lined up today. Now most of the people that we speak to on this channel have a general liking for Formula 1 and motorsport and have plans for the future. But this man has put them into practice. He's a commentator, a karter, esports and sim race and driver with loads of experience and budding career ambitions for the future in journalism, as a driver and hoping to get into motorsport for the future. Now he's managed to do all of this in such little time, and as the youngest interviewee on this channel, he's only 12 years old. Along with that, he's also from the northeast of England, so we were very, very excited to speak to and interview Kai Bachini. Now Kai was the recipient of the BBC Radio 5 Live Commentary of the Year award in 2 consecutive years, in 2018 and 19, and he was even interviewed and asked to be a guest commentator alongside Jolyon Palmer at the 2019 Belgian Grand Prix. With a massive career ahead of him, we were excited to interview Kai today in episode 5 of F1 Online Decoded. Enjoy. Kai, welcome to F1 Online YouTube's Decoded. This episode's coming out on the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. Of course, no Monaco. That's very upsetting. Of course, we haven't had any Formula 1 since we were supposed to start, but nevertheless, we're here talking about F1. But with you, it's a little bit more about F1. But before we get into the questions, how are you doing today? How are you doing on no school? And what are you doing to kind of fill your time in this isolation that we're in at the moment?
Well, yeah, thanks for asking how I am. I'm actually really well. Obviously, with no school, it's difficult because I'm not able to socialise with people in general, especially my friends. But to keep me occupied at the moment, I've been doing a lot of F1 2019 sim racing. Obviously, I can't race in real racing, so why not race sim racing?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, that sounds really good. For everyone that's listening, Kai actually has a race later on. So yeah, after this interview, goes off and does some sim racing himself. So obviously we'll get onto that later on in the episode. Sounds amazing. So of course, first standard question for everyone is how you get into F1. But with you, there's a few more things that you do, which we're going to start decoding in this first question. So of course, first question is kind of how did you get into Formula 1? How did you kind of get into liking this motorsport? But with you, you are not just a fan of Formula 1. You don't just watch racing. You do racing, you are racing, you live racing, if that doesn't sound cheesy enough. You are a karting driver. So how did you get into go-karting races? Was the ambition Formula 1 when you started racing cars?
So, karting, that's a funny story. It all started on a summer holiday when I got into a go-kart for the first time in Lanzarote, I think it was, in Spain. I tried it because my dad used to kart when he was younger, so he was encouraging me to have a go. I was a little bit scared at the first time, but once I jumped in the car, absolutely loved it. At the age of 8, I got my first kart and then started racing nationally, and it's all evolved since then.
Wow. So were you a fan of Formula 1 before you... of course, Formula 1 isn't the only motorsport. Of course, there's other types of motorsports, there's other reasons that people start karting. But did you start because of Formula 1? And were you a fan of Formula 1 before karting? Or did this come about because you were kind of developing more of a love for go-kart racing?
I definitely watched the F1 before I started go-karting, and that's where I fell into motorsport and I absolutely loved it. The cars driving around the track at insane speeds, overtaking each other, just the thrill of racing. I think that's what got me engaged with the motorsport, and then obviously tried it for the first time and got hooked.
So, in terms of Formula 1, what's your favourite team? Because when we talk to other people that we've had in this series, you know, we've had Aldas, we've had Mike, we've had Leibrecht, and everyone, they're all older, kind of our age people growing up watching Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. But you, of course, being so young, you probably grew up watching Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. So who is your team? And in terms of those kind of drivers, who did you follow and who do you follow now? Who's like your favourite team or driver in F1?
That's a difficult one. There's two teams that I really like. One of them is McLaren. The other one has to be Williams. Williams, I really love the team. Obviously, a big history in motorsport, really successful in the past. Unfortunately, not the best seasons currently though, but you can just see the dedication within the team. It's very small compared to the others, and especially because my uncle works for Williams, I think that definitely helped develop the love for the team. I also really like the driver lineup they have for this year. They have George Russell and Nicholas Latifi, two young drivers, and I think it'll be interesting once racing gets going again to watch them on the grid.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, Williams, great team. Can I ask what your uncle did with Williams?
So my uncle still works for Williams, and he used to be an engineer back in the day. Used to work with Nigel Mansell, Senna, drivers like that, and now he more works on the sim side of it.
Does he have a lot of stories about those kind of drivers? I mean, Senna, of course, one of the best drivers, arguably the best of all time. Does he have any great stories about working with Ayrton?
Yeah, of course he has a lot of stories from working in the team, but a lot of them take a long time to explain.
I'd imagine.
Definitely. Well, I mean, I would definitely sit down and listen to that. And McLaren, how did you start loving them?
So McLaren, it's been a team that I've seen for ages, obviously with Fernando Alonso, such an iconic name of the sport. And then you've got the youngster moving in, Lando Norris. Obviously, I've interviewed him a few times, which I think definitely helps me like him in a different way to just seeing him on track. I like him as in a person now. He's got a really nice personality, and he's just generally a really nice person, really kind to everyone he meets. He moves out the way to try and help his fans and keep the fandom going, and obviously he's Twitch streaming right now because there's no racing. And I think the youngsters in F1 these days, they're a lot different, and they bring something refreshing to the sport.
Yeah. In terms of Lando Norris, we know that you've interviewed him, of course, also Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren. Again, your love of sim racing. We'll get onto Lando in a bit, of course, in your interview. Also, the two teams that you mentioned, British teams. So, is that why you're a fan of them, British teams? And then also, if it is Britain, why aren't you a fan of, or are you a fan of Lewis? I didn't mean to say you're not a fan of Lewis Hamilton. Are you a fan of Lewis? And kind of, how far does that go? Of course, you're supporting British teams. Do you support British driver or the British driver that's, of course, winning all the time right now?
I think I support the teams just because they're British. Obviously, I really like Ferrari as well. Sebastian Vettel, a driver who's been in the team for quite a while, and he's won a lot of stuff back in the days. And I really enjoy watching his driving. It's just different driving style to anyone else you see on the grid. And obviously, I do support the British teams and British drivers. And I don't think it's the nationality that I focus on, more of the personality and driving style.
Yeah, exactly. So we go-karting, you race that.
Yep.
So you Formula One, that's where your love is. But you're also a commentator as well.
Yep.
We've seen that you've done some big interviews. We'll get into them in a little bit. But of course, when you're racing, when you're outside of the car, you are behind the microphone interviewing fellow drivers and commentating on some of the races. So how did you get into that? And where do you kind of see that run alongside your karting career?
Yeah, with commentating, I got into commentating because we weren't able to do a round of the British Championships at Larkhall, track over in Scotland. And someone who I know quite well now, who commentates on the series, Jake Sanson, who I work with him in Downforce Radio now. He said, my normal co-commentator, isn't able to make it for this race, so if anyone else wants to join me in the commentary box, just hit me up a message. And I was definitely just jumped on the opportunity, thought it would be a bit of fun, and just naturally people said that I was quite good at it, so I followed it up.
Awesome. Well, I mean, yeah, especially to be, what are you, 12, 13, 12?
12.
12, to be that age and have those many things under your belt is absolutely incredible.
What, sorry?
I've just given you a compliment saying
I thought it was a question.
a lot of things. I mean, you're a commentator, you do go-kart races. It is incredible. To the amount of people that we speak to, I mean, to be, as I said, that young is really great. And obviously, yeah, wish you all the best for the future.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep, it is. Yeah, it is actually quite awesome what you've done in like such a short space of time as well. It really is. So moving away from like Formula One and motorsport and that, what do you kind of do? Well, to be fair, it probably is linked with motorsport, but anyways, what do you do when you're not interviewing drivers and when you're not karting? So like when you're on your downtime, when you, like you said, you're not at school, you're not doing karting or commentating. What do you get up to? And do you have any other hobbies besides racing?
Well, we're actually not karting at the moment. Well, we haven't been karting for a while. Just to make it clear, obviously, once you get to the top end of karting, it starts to get quite expensive, and it's just tenths between the top drivers, which is new rubber or new engine. And I was always the one on second-hand chassis and rubber, so wasn't able to compete. But anyways, apart from that, hobbies, obviously sim racing is one of my main hobbies.
Yeah.
But outside of racing, obviously like a normal 12-year-old, I really like gaming, play on my Xbox and PC. But I also do basketball outside of school.
All right. Do you play like a team, or do you just do that with your friends, or just something to do with?
Well, I train for a team, but they don't have an under-14s team yet. So when they develop an under-14s team, I'm definitely going to get involved.
Go for it as well. You said that, of course, you do league racing, sim racing. So what leagues do you? What have you been a part of, or what are you a part of now? And how is it going? Are you any good? Are you like the next esports world champion, or are you just? I'll stick at the back for a bit. Give us a couple of years to get better.
I mean, I think I'm definitely able to compete for my position and show what I'm worthy of. I'd say I'm pretty quick. I'm definitely not at the point of an esports world champion, but there's still a couple of years before there's esports, so still time to develop. I race in the Ragged Nation RNL, which has esports drivers like Nicholas Longay, and it's a really difficult league. Lots of very, very quick drivers. So that's a competitive league. And another league I do is ASN, which I'm able to compete for podiums, maybe even race wins. And yeah, it's really fun doing league racing, especially the competition-wise, the competitiveness in league racing. It's up to a high level.
It really is, yeah. I was once part of a league back in back in the 2014 days. Less about that, the better. And hence why I thought that maybe gaming's not for me. Maybe more YouTube is more my style. So you said there that you play other games as well when you're not doing racing or anything like that. So what other games do you play on your Xbox and your PC apart from your racing games, or is it just racing games that you play?
So yeah, I do play racing games, but I also play quite a few other games like Minecraft, games like that. I always play them with my friends. I like FPS FPS games. There's quite a variety that I play.
Does I don't mind a bit of Minecraft, not gonna lie. What would you say is your favorite game? If you had to choose one game, all right. Let's put you in this scenario, right? So you're in a burning building. You survive. Don't worry, you survive. You're in a burning building, right? With every single game you've ever played, racing games, whatever. You can only save one game. What game would that be?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure my console would burn down, but anyways.
No. Consoles fine. All your consoles are safe. They're locked away. They're safe. Everything's hunky dory. You've just got to pick a game.
Okay. Any game I've ever played. That's a hard one. I mean, Oh, I don't know. You've really put me on the spot here. I wasn't expecting this.
I like to do this with the guests. Just be like, here's some of the questions. Right, I'm going to throw you a question that you're not going to expect on the spot.
I'm gonna say, just because of the nostalgia, I'm gonna say Forza Horizon.
Forza Horizon.
Good game.
I've been playing that since my Xbox 360 since I was about 7 years old, and I still play it to this date. So
Pure dedication. I've never played. Well, I've played Forza. I just don't have it. I've never had an Xbox. So, well, I did, but I didn't never play Forza. For me, Gran Turismo was better. A lot better.
Horizon's the one where it's mostly real world, isn't it? Where you can like almost drive the whole UK.
That's it.
Yeah,
I remember I was on that a few weeks ago at the Microsoft store in London, obviously before the lockdown. It's good, but to be honest, apart from F1, I'm not really a motorsport fan. Like just of normal driving cars. But yeah, sounds good. Right, so moving on to probably one of the biggest things that's out there that you have done, which is, of course, something that's pinned on your Twitter. You made a little video about it, which, of course, is getting invited or commentating at the 2019 Belgian Grand Prix. Now, firstly, I mean, that is absolutely incredible. I've been to Belgium, but, of course, not at the standard of you getting in the commentary box. You've got photos with, like, Julian Palmer and... the Sky F1 team, some of Channel 4, I think it was Mark Webber, most of the drivers, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, you met all of them. It looked like an absolutely incredible weekend. So, from your review, just a little bit of a quick review of that whole weekend. I mean, what was it like to be not just at Spa, not just at Belgium, not at just one of the best races in the Formula 1 calendar, but to be invited there. You were invited, weren't you? Yes, that's right. So you were there, invited, as a commentator, alongside some of the greats of Formula 1, either drivers or commentators. Just what was it like, in your own words, that weekend?
If I had to put it into one word, surreal. It was absolutely action-packed, but it wasn't tiring because it was so good. Obviously, I got to interview pretty much all the drivers on the grid, which was absolutely amazing. Meeting everybody and walking around the paddock, it feels like I didn't belong there for some reason. Obviously, I'm not at that level right now, but it's just an amazing. You see celebrities left, right, and centre just walking down the road in the paddock, and then the commentary box. That was amazing. Sitting in the commentary box with Jack Nicholls and Julian Palmer. And talking to them live on the radio, I'd say that's amazing, and I don't think anything has topped that weekend since.
You said celebrities. Did you get to meet any celebrities, or did you see who did you see in the paddock?
I meant celebrities as in drivers. I met Sir Jackie Stewart.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best people I met. I saw Alain Prost.
Yeah.
I can't remember any others.
Did you get to speak to them as well? Did you get to speak to them as well?
I didn't speak to Alain Prost, but I spoke to Jackie Stewart, and he was a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I can imagine him being a lovely guy. I've always said I want to meet Jackie Stewart. Not just, and ask Jackie a couple of questions. Hi Jackie, how you doing, mate? Yeah, and then just let him tell stories about Jim Clark. That's all I want to meet Jackie for. I love Jim Clark.
Where did you meet him at? Where was the Jackie when you met him, and where did you speak to him at?
Just walking around the paddock. Unfortunately, I didn't get to interview him, but I spoke to him for a little bit, and walking around the paddock. Yeah, he was just standing in the middle of the paddock, sitting down in a seat.
So, I mean, yeah, that week. I mean, as well, that weekend, that was part of modern day Formula 1 history. Of course, Charles Leclerc's first win, denied in Bahrain, denied in Austria, and he finally won in Spa, of course. As well, of course, obviously the events of what happened on the Saturday, of course, racing for his late friend Antoine Hubert. But to see Charles on the top step must have been incredible. So, I mean, how did that make you feel from a Formula One fan? But also, how did that make you feel as a commentator? You know, to top off this amazing weekend. I mean, I don't know if you are a Charles Leclerc fan, but if I think everyone was in that weekend. I think you can agree with us on that. I think everyone was. So what were you doing at that point? Were you on the mic? Were you just watching the race when that happened? And of course, what were your feelings when you saw Charles on the top step? Of course, with the black armband, obviously winning for his dear friend that he lost the day before. And I mean, how did you feel when you saw that?
First of all, let me just start it off by saying we've all paid our respects to Anton Huber. Died doing what he loved, and he deserves every bit of respect he can get. Obviously, the win that Charles got, I was actually sitting in the commentary box with Jack and Jolyon. And the funny thing is, before the race, me, Jack and Jolyon predicted who we thought was going to win the race. And I predicted Charles was going to win, so a bit of a lucky guess. And then my dad managed to get right up against the fence when the drivers came in, where they get the top three pull in their cars. My dad got right up against the fence and got some pictures, so that was pretty cool.
Well, that is absolutely incredible. I mean, we'll get on to, of course, why you won that in a little bit, but rating out of 10 for that whole weekend. And of course, you went to Belgium as well, which is a lovely country. It's a free trip. It's Formula One. I can't think of a bad. Did anything bad happen that weekend that spoiled the experience? Did anything
Don't ask me what anything bad happened. Yeah, you had an awesome weekend. If anything bad did happen, you just want to talk about it.
Okay, did you do what Jordan did when we went to Monza and buy a €5 bottle of Coke?
Oh my God.
No.
Is that what we're
No.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't.
I'll never ever forget that. I'll have a bottle of Coke, please. It's €5. What?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. We got drinks for free in the paddock, so there was no need for that.
Oh yes, of course, drinks for free, everything for free. No, I mean that is surreal. That is absolutely incredible. And yeah, Charles win commentating. So who was the best person that you met on that whole weekend? And that can be from speaking to them. So for example, like you said, you talked to Jackie, obviously Sir Jackie Stewart.
Yep.
From how high up they are as a celebrity. Who was the best person you spoke to and you met on that whole weekend?
Gosh. I spoke to so many amazing people. I mean, all the drivers were really nice. But, I don't know. I'd have to say maybe George Russell or Daniel Ricciardo.
Okay.
Daniel Ricciardo was really nice. But actually, I'm going to say Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel gave me loads of time, and I really respect that. Obviously, he didn't have to, and I really respect that he gave me the time that I wanted. And yeah, I'd say he was one of the best people I spoke to.
Definitely. So how did you meet Seb? And I mean, I'm not saying recall everything he said to you, but what kind of things did he say?
So, there was this thing going on which we had no idea. There was a massive crowd near the fence to go over the track to the paddock. So we walked up to the fence to see what was going on, and then some security guard let us through. And it was where they were letting loads of kids in, lining up against the wall down the pit straight and getting the drivers to sign things. So. Yeah. I got every driver to sign a t-shirt, but I also whipped out my phone and got interviews with as many drivers as possible. And Seb was really nice because he was complimenting my interviewing skills, and just in general, he was being really nice. Obviously giving me all the time, like I said, and just in general was a really nice guy, especially when answering the questions. He tried to put it in the nicest way possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely awesome. I mean, that sounded an incredible weekend. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of jealous, but yeah, it's sounding good. So well done for getting that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've heard some really nice things said about Sebastian Vettel, saying he gives you a lot of time. He's like You established earlier that you're not really karting at the moment. Well, you're not karting at all, are you? Is your career like stopped now? You're not karting anymore.
Well, we've got a free drive at the week. Not this weekend, but obviously when this all stops, free race weekend at the Cadet Karting Championship. And we've done some test days with Oliver Rowland Motorsport. And after 6 months out the car, it was surprising to see that I was actually still on the pace. Oliver Rowland,
natural
obviously,
racer.
Oliver Rowland, obviously being a Formula E driver, he also runs a karting team. So we've done quite a bit of work with them.
Oh, that's pretty good. How was the karting career going up to the point of where you've kind of stopped?
I'd say we were able to get top 10, but if you want to get further than top 10, top 5-ish, you're gonna need to be putting down the money.
So out of everyone that you've raced with, would you say there's maybe one? Could you name maybe one or two who you're looking at going, you know what, I could see this guy in maybe Formula One or even another top tier motorsport? Would you say, or could you name anyone that is like a rising star of just karting in single seater racing that you've raced with?
In karting, I'd say Maxwell Dodds. He races in Europe and he's a racing prodigy, definitely at the top of the grid. One driver to watch out for, but another driver that doesn't get much notice, and I'm actually good friends with him, so not trying to be biased, but he doesn't get much attention, but he's a rising star in the sport right now, really young. I'd say Zachary Knight and Will Knight, the two brothers, they're actually progressing through the field really quickly, and I think if they keep up the work they're doing right now, I can see them in a high tier of motorsport in the future.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, everyone listening. Write down them names. Just go back quickly and just write down them names and see if they'll be in motorsport in a couple of years' time. I'm just going to move quickly away from karting now. I'm just going to kind of go back onto interview and stuff. For those that are listening who are maybe, I don't know, interested in maybe becoming, what is it? How would you say, what would you call the profession?
Motorsport journalist.
Motorsport journalist.
Broadcast
maybe
journalist.
Broadcast journalist. Yeah. So if someone wants to become like a motorsport journalist or broadcast journalist, who maybe want to go around the world and interview various drivers, what kind of tips would you give this person, whether they're like maybe your age, maybe slightly older, or maybe someone who's just like, you know what, I just want to turn a career, I want to go down this route? What advice would you give someone who wants to go down the same route as yourself?
So the main tip is, no matter how old you are, stick with the passion that you have. If you have an ambition to become an F1 driver or a broadcast journalist, as we're talking about right now, stick with that ambition. If someone says no to you, take that as a challenge. Don't take it in defeat. Push against that and keep nabbing on at people. Keep asking them about the same thing, because eventually you're going to get to a point where you've evolved so much that they can't really say no.
Exactly. Just keep pushing them and then eventually they'll crack. Would you have any role models in that kind of degree of maybe people that you looked up to, and maybe their style of interview, like how they interview people, how they come across towards people? Or do you just have your own style and this is how I want to address this said person, this is the questions I want to ask, and I want to be as cheeky as possible and try and get as much out of them as I possibly can?
I wouldn't really say there's someone who I look up to, but obviously I want to be the next Martin Brundle, walking down the grid, interviewing drivers. So I wouldn't really say I look up to him, but I aspire to be in his position.
I think that's a good one. Yeah, Martin Brundle, of course, with his grid walks, legendary. Maybe the grid walk with Kai. There we go. There's a one for you. But in the next maybe 10, 15 years, I think that'd be quite cool. Yeah.
Hopefully.
So you've just said there, Kai, Martin Brundle, of course, the grid walk. So that's an ambition for you, of course.
Yes.
So kind of splitting it down the middle, karting and commentary. Of course, one can run alongside the other, of course. So what is your ambition or the end goal for karting? Because a lot of people, of course, say Formula One is the pinnacle. Where's your ambition lie? Does it lie at Formula One? Does it lie in another sport of motorsport? Does it lie in another form of motorsport? Or are you just doing this for a bit of fun? So start with karting first. What's your ambition with the karts?
Currently, my ambition is not to become a racing driver, but be at a point as if like Johnny Herbert, who I'd say he's one of the people I look up to. Johnny Herbert, obviously he's a journalist, he does work, he's a presenter, but he also gets many opportunities in cars and opportunities in racing. So if I could get to a point where I'm a journalist or presenter working in motorsport, but also get the opportunities to race in cars, that would be the dream.
So what kind of cars would you want to drive? Is it kind of the Formula One style cars, or are you looking at more like the cars you would see on Forza Horizon, for example?
Single seaters would be amazing, but I'm pretty sure this is a dream for every petrol head, is to race in the 24-hour Le Mans.
Definitely, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you said, of course, Johnny Herbert, Martin Brundle, two role models for you. Drivers who've been in Formula One for quite a few years, haven't amounted to very much, but still successful Formula One drivers. Of course, race winner Johnny Herbert, British Grand Prix, but then went into commentating afterwards. It's kind of like they found the love afterwards. A bit like how Jenson Button and Nico Rosberg, Mark Webber, they all found the love afterwards. But of course, your love is first. Commentary and presenting and journalism is what you want to do right now. So, what happens if you get an offer to drive in like the 24-hour Le Mans with Porsche, but you can't be a journalist? It's quite a hard question. I mean, like, one can run with the other. But what would you say is kind of higher up on your priority list for your career?
So, obviously, I'm still a racing driver at heart. If I got the offer, if I got the contract to race in the 24-hour Le Mans, I'd take that on. I'd definitely take the job to race in the 24-hour Le Mans. But I'd also keep my journalism and presenter work still in the background, still working on side jobs. Obviously, the 24-hour Le Mans isn't a full-time job. But a racing driver is. If I could become a racing driver, that would be amazing. But obviously, being a racing driver can't last forever. So I'd always try to keep working on my skills as a presenter to pick up presenting after the racing.
Yeah, definitely. Final question in terms of your ambitions for your career. The previous person that we interviewed on this was actually studying journalism at university. Of course, you're a few years young. You've got a few years to go before you get to uni level. But is that something that you would pursue? So, you're at uni level, 18, 19, and, it's looking promising. So would you look at doing something like journalism or English, for example, an English course to further, progress in the world of journalism, commentary, punditry, things like that?
Yeah, definitely. That would be great. And especially if I get into like a motorsport college at the age of 16, if I'm able to get in a motorsport college, hopefully I could study journalism or media at college and try to develop my skills there, and then go to university after to develop my skills further so I can benefit from my education as much as possible.
Yeah, sounds good. And of course, on the back of that, you need grades. So I assume school's going well. I mean, of course, no school at the moment.
Yep.
How are your grades? What's your favourite subject? What's your least favourite subject?
I'd say my least favourite subject to do is English, because I obviously need to work on my dialect as much as possible, but I'm not really a big fan of writing like letters or pages or whatever. I more prefer to get my words across verbally, so that it can reach a wider audience because people are more likely to listen to you read out a page than them to read a page personally. But I actually really enjoy maths. Maths is something that I really enjoy, as well as history and geography.
Yeah, sounds good. Definitely need skills, so cracking on that. Actually, just one thing before we move on. Of course, you know, for everyone that's listening, if you don't know, Kai's from the northeast of England, but you don't actually have a Geordie or a northern accent, Kai. You sound very, you know, as we would say, I went to uni in London, as they would say down there, a BBC English voice. Of course, right up your alley. That's definitely what you want. I think there's a guy that does La Liga, and he's from the northeast, and he has a strong accent. But other than that, there is northeast commentators, and you can hardly tell because they just sound very, you know, BBC-like. So, is that something that you've had to work on? Do you think, and is something that's, you know, helped over the years to kind of drop the northern sounding words to sound, you know, more kind of neutral on the mic?
I don't think I've ever really had a Geordie accent or a northerner accent. I've always been told that I sound very posh. So
You do.
I've been told that constantly throughout my years, and I don't think I've ever had to really like focus on working on my accent.
Well, that's good. That is definitely good. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're trying to do that. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, sounds great. Stick in a school, Kai, and then hopefully you can get a journalism at uni, and then hopefully we'll see you doing Martin or Kai's grid walks in the future.
Hopefully. Lyle kind of gave us a little hint there as to, like, you know, kind of the BBC English speaking accent. And Kai, well, for those who probably don't know, or maybe don't know, Kai is the BBC Five Live Young Commentator of the Year, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
That is some achievement. Just tell the listeners how kind of that came about and how you got to become BBC Five Young Commentator of the Year. Like, what was the process, and kind of when you first seen it, was it like I've got to do this, or were you persuaded to do it? Like, how did it all come about?
So I hadn't done much commentary before that. I'd actually done very little commentary. I'd done a couple of commentary on karting, and we had no idea about this competition. So Jake Sanson, as I mentioned before, who I'd commentated with, and one of my mum's friends and some of my friends from karting tweeted us and sent us messages about, oh, you should enter this would be amazing. And we didn't really know what it was, so we were like, okay, we'll have a go, not expecting anything from it. So I sent in an entry commentating on the 400 metres women's relay at the European Series. I'll remember that for a while now. But we entered with the best I could do, not really expecting anything. And then we got shortlisted, so we were really surprised that we got shortlisted. Mm-hmm. And then we got on the phone live on radio. They said to us, the top 3 are on the line, on 3 different lines, and 2 lines will be dropped, and we'll speak to you after, but the winner won't be dropped. So then our line didn't get dropped, and
wow,
it was a massive surprise. I was not expecting to win that competition with the little experience I had.
Gee, that is some achievement. It really, really is. I was watching. I said to you before we started recording. I was watching a couple of your videos that you did, you know, with interviews with drivers and stuff. And I think that's, you know, really, really cool. And of course, esports as well. You're a big part of interviewing esports. But one of your earliest videos you did was going to, I think was it down Manchester? Was it down Manchester or London?
Yeah, Manchester and London actually.
Oh, I was both, just to kind of pick up your accolade, really. So that was I imagine that was a brilliant day out, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got invited down to the BBC Five Live studios down in Manchester, live on radio, to collect my reward from Robbie Savage, who gave me...
The legend, that is.
Yeah, who gave me my award live on radio. And then within the next couple of days, we got a train down to London to go on Dev and Alice's show on Radio 1. which was
Yes.
which was really big, and wasn't expecting that. And they made me commentate on TV events. So Gemma Collins falling down the trapdoor at the Radio 1 Awards. They made me commentate on that. And it was a really fun experience. It was really good.
That's awesome. So, right, last question on the whole commentary thing, right? Might be another question that'll get you thinking.
Okay.
So, out of every kind of great Formula One moment you've seen on TV, whether you've seen it live or you've seen it with highlights, like a really big, like a gas moment where, like, for example, or even like a really nice moment, for example, when Charles won in Monza, that for me was a surreal moment, Ferrari winning on home soil, a young guy like Charles, the stars align for that. What moment would you like to have commentated on if you were a commentator at that point? So, like Jenson Button winning the World Championship, or Hamilton winning a British Grand Prix, this first Grand Prix, or what moment would like to have commentated on, and to say maybe like, now I did that, I was there.
So technically I was there, but I didn't commentate on it when Lando Norris broke down at Spa on the last lap. I think that's a devastating moment for him, but looking at it now, there's been many memes of
Can you do an impression of it? Can you do an impression of what you said?
It's gone, it's broken.
It's broken.
It's broken.
I'm sure you can say like a child,
Poor
but,
Lando.
or
Poor
people like
Lando.
say, I'm sure you said BRO, not BWO.
Yeah, I've seen many clips of people who he's playing with on games doing it. For example, I was watching a stream on PUBG when they were driving around in a car, and one of his friends imitated that. But I find it really funny to show that how much drivers put into their driving and how much they must be tired, because he couldn't even pronounce his R's correctly, as you heard me say. He said broken instead of broken. But that just shows the dedication that the drivers go through.
Mm-hmm. It does. It really, really does. I mean, at this moment in time, I was watching the virtual Grand Prix that they did in Australia just yesterday. I was watching his stream, poor Lando, and he didn't make the cut again, unfortunately. It literally did broke, kicked him out the stream, bless him. Yeah. So I think he's at the final straw about playing that game, poor Lando. I mean, eventually he will get some luck. But moving on from this, Lyle, we've got some fan questions for young Kai, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Oh no.
Yeah, of course, the other day. So, you've never seen these questions. This is what we like about it so much. So, the first one comes in from, it's not a very, you can't really, get what he does from his name. Okay. He's called Kids Love F1. Now, from that name, I've got no idea what he does. I don't know what he does. Does he know? I think he might be an adult. I don't think he's a kid. Anyways. Kid Love F1. Firstly, he said that it was obviously a great honour that we were interviewing you and how young you are in the sport. He's not as young as you. I think he's about 16, but we're not going to get into that.
Okay.
So he says, how would you describe or explain Formula One to a young kid who's never heard about it before?
You've just stumped me there. But I think what I'd explain to a youngster who doesn't know about F1 is that it's an exhilarating sport that gets your adrenaline running, and it's really exciting, especially when you're driving. It's exciting when you're watching it, but you can't compare the feeling of driving and overtaking someone, the satisfaction of that, especially when you pull off a good move. You can't compare that to anything. And I'd say it's an exhilarating experience, and F1 in general, it's a really sophisticated, and I don't think you can find the caliber of driving you've got in F1 anywhere else.
Yeah, good explanation. Next question is coming from Ravenduck 1984.
Oh,
Yeah, good name.
I
Good name.
I know Raven Duck. I race against him.
Oh, do you?
I know him quite well.
Oh, well, then he's
Oh,
got.
no.
Wait, he hasn't got one question. He's got two.
He's got
Actually,
two.
no, they're all right. They are all right questions. They are all right. He says, "How does it feel to drive in a league with esports drivers, and how do you think it helps with your race pace?"
So, I think he's talking about RNL racing against Nicholas Longay.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely improves my race pace and my determination. Because I've got someone who's one of the quickest on the game in the world. And I can base my pace off that, see where I'm going wrong, see where I'm losing time, and then try and fix the little mistakes that I'm making to try and get as close to his time as possible. And I think it actually helps my race pace because I'm then comparing my times to one of the quickest guys in the world.
Yeah, well, Raven Duck's never commented under our channel before, so yeah, you must have known. Yeah, as John said there, 2 questions. But my next question comes from Mike from F1 Fanatics. Of course, episode 1 interviewee. He's been on our channel before, great guy. A lot of questions for all of our guests, and he says, "Who has helped you the most with your interviews?"
Ooh. Who's helped me the most with my interviews? I've had a lot of advice from a lot of people. And I'd say the person who's gave me the most advice from the professional side of it, the person who's gave me the most advice from the professional side would have to be Johnny Herbert. I've had some really good conversations with him, and he's gave me a lot of advice. And also David Croft has helped me with advice on my interviewing and commentating. But I'd have to say the person who's gave me the best help is Jake Sampson, obviously. He's the person who I started commentating with, and he's been inspiring me the whole way through. He's been helping me with any hurdles that I come across, any mistakes I make. He tries to help me correct them.
Yeah, that's good. Obviously, shout out to Jake who's listening. Was it Jake? That's right. So shout out for him who listens.
That sounds pretty good. I'm actually going to come in with a bonus question. Now, this one isn't on here.
Oh, no.
But again, think of it. Oh, next question is from Jordan from the F1 Debate Show, who's actually right here right now. I don't know. I heard he's quite looking. I heard he's quite good looking. Apparently.
I don't know who that is.
And he say, well, I say, who is the best guy you've interviewed?
Johnny Herbert.
What's your best? Johnny Herbert?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've had some great banter with him, especially in autosports this year.
I've seen there's a little battle between you two. I think there was one with a Mario Kart challenge
that
first,
was good.
and then there was a sim race at the Formula E zone at Autosport. Yeah. So there's who's winning that so far? I think it's you. I think you thrashed him on the sim racing.
Yeah, but currently the score is a draw because he beat me at Mario, but then I beat him on the sim, so it's 1-1.
Oh, so you need a third.
Yeah,
a third battle.
We're waiting for Autosports 2021.
Looking forward. Hopefully, I might bump into you. I seen you at Autosport as well. I've seen you a couple of times. Interviewing Lando Norris, not jealous at all. Right. Final question is again another one from Raven Duck, 1984.
Oh God.
And he says, let's take a leap into the future.
Okay.
The year is 2030. Where do we find Kai, and what is he doing?
Hopefully, walking the F1 grid, interviewing the drivers before they start the Monaco race.
Monaco, wow.
Well,
is that your favourite track?
It's not my favourite track, but it's known as the best race on the grid. It's the nostalgic one. People find it as the pinnacle of tracks, close to Monza, but it's the blitz and bling. It's the blitz and bling, of F1.
It is.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking there, 2030, for example, with us, we'd be in our 30s. But with you, you'd only be 22 in 2030, so still incredibly...
Oh, don't I feel old already, mate? Ugh.
Well, I'm 22 now, so you would be my age in 10 years' time, Kai.
Gosh.
Anyways, so next thing up is our 60-second quiz. Well, it's 58-ish second quiz. Basically, you've never seen these questions before. Just one or the other, just quick fire. Just shout out the first thing that comes into your mind when I say them. But say the options. So, whenever you're ready, we'll get going. So, are you ready?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Ferrari or Mercedes?
Ferrari.
Seb or Charles?
Charles. No, Seb. Sorry.
Marussia or HRT?
What? Sorry.
Marussia or HRT?
Russia.
Peas or carrots?
Peas.
Marvel or DC?
DC.
Abu Dhabi or Baku?
Baku.
Force India or Racing Point?
Racing Point.
Bedtime or no bedtime?
Bedtime.
Radion or Beckett?
Beckett's.
Pennywise or Shrek?
Shrek.
Lando or Nico Hulkenberg?
Lando.
Math or science?
Maths.
Racing or journalism?
Racing.
The final question, Drive to Survive or Rush?
Oh no.
You've got it.
I went to the Drive to Survive premiere season 2 as well.
Oh yes,
But
you did,
Rush is an insanely good film. I'm gonna have to say Drive to Survive.
Definitely. So
You have to.
wow, we actually, I can't believe we missed that off. So just before we go into the final thing, Kai, what was that like? So of course, you got interviewed, you got invited, season 2, Rush. We Drive to Survive. Sorry, we saw you interview Nico Hulkenberg there as well. Of course, that was the photo that we shared. But what was that like? And then also, kind of as a bonus thing, what is your favourite thing about Drive to Survive? Are you a Series 1 fan, a 2 fan? What was your favourite kind of stand-up moment in the documentary?
I'm gonna, as you asked me first, it was an amazing experience at the premiere. Got to meet Claire Williams, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, George Russell, obviously Nico Hulkenberg as the picture you guys put. But season 1 or season 2? I'm gonna have to go with season 1. There was a lot of things that I think people didn't know that was shared in season 1. But best moment of season 2 has to be episode 2, Gunter Steiner with Haas.
Guys, that was absolutely incredible. I mean,
I'm still scared of him.
were
You're scared of him?
Yeah, after that. He nearly took Magnussen's head off. I was like, oh, sorry, Gunter.
Well, Magnussen pulled the door off.
That bit was... I mean, because that actually probably happened. You think, as a team boss, you can shout at your drivers so much so, but at the end of the day, they are still, very skilled drivers. There's only 20 of them in the world, so, fire is fair enough, but I'm still going to bite back. And K-Mag kicking down the door, you can imagine that. But yeah, definitely... So Drive to Survive, incredible. So how did you get invited to that? I mean, that is just like 1 in a million years kind of thing to do.
So obviously we've done some work with F1 at the F1 Esports, and it's actually the same people. I think it's the marketing area of F1 Esports who work at F1, and the same people, Helen Barnard, invited us to the Drive to Survive season 2. Obviously, we'd done some work with her at the F1 Esports, and it was a bit surreal because we were actually walking from our hotel to go to the Autosports on the Thursday for the first day, and popped up with an email saying, "We'd like you to come to the Drive to Survive season 2." So that was a good start to the day on the first day, and it was amazing.
Yeah, that's absolutely sounding absolutely amazing. And as I say, Jordan was jealous about your Autosport and meeting shot interviewing Lando. I'm jealous about the Drive to Survive, to be honest.
Did you interview Charlotte Autosport, or did you not get a chance?
We tried to, but Ferrari were like, no interviews, lockdown.
Yeah. We were.
I went up to him and asked, and he was like, "Can I?" And he's like, "No."
I know there was a. Yeah, there was a few. I mean, we were sitting in the media pen, well, the media lounge area bit, and we were just trying to like ask a couple of people. So, Charles is in today. Can we? No. Oh, okay, fair enough.
People at the desk.
Yeah. Like, nope.
Just to add something there. I mean, like as you said there, before Kai, we had Alex on last year who said exactly the same almost. If you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't keep pushing for something, you don't get it. And like yes, you didn't get an interview with Charles, but look what you have. Look at who you have interviewed, and I imagine that for some of them interviews, you had to keep pushing quite a lot.
You have spoke to Charles. You have spoken with
Belgium.
I've seen that. Yeah. So at least you've got that.
I have interviewed him at least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. Anyways, the final part of the interview. It's been a really, really good interview, Kai. Really, really have enjoyed it. I hope you have as well. And what we get our guests to do is we get them to pick their F1 dream team.
Right.
So what I require from you is 2 F1 drivers of your choice. Could be any 2 you like. A car that has been in Formula 1. Any car that you want. A team boss, like a team manager, and what would your team be called? So let's start with your 2 drivers first. Which 2 drivers would you have in your fantasy F1 team your F1 dream?
Do they have to be current drivers?
Yes, they can be anyone you want. In F1 now, they can be an F1 earlier. They could be dead or alive. Entirely up to you.
I'm gonna have to go with Johnny Herbert and Lando Norris as my drivers.
That's a combination I would like. I mean, I think the last time those 2 were in a car together, Lando beached it at Silverstone.
Yeah.
If you remember that.
Yeah.
Well, normally people say things like Lewis Hamilton and Matt Schumacher, so at least we're going in a bit of a different direction. And
Kai's been a bit different, which I like it. I like it. You always get the same. I'll have Hamilton, I'll have Schumacher, I'll have Kai, Johnny Herbert, and Lando Norris. Yes. That's what we want.
two very skilled drivers as well. We're not saying Schumacher, we're not saying Hamilton's better. 2 very skilled drivers. Some say
absolutely
better. Come on.
So
yes. So the car that they will be driving, what car would it be?
It'll have to be the F2004 or 2009 Brawn. I don't know which one.
Oh, make a choice. I'm putting pressure on you. What's it going to be?
It's gonna have to be the F2004.
Oh, again, that's a very popular choice with our guests. I think about 5 people have said that.
It's an amazing car, though.
Brilliant. It is a really nice car. And team manager, team boss, who would be running the show at your team? Team principal?
Claire Williams.
Claire Williams, right.
Yep.
Why is that?
Obviously the daughter of Frank Williams, and I think she's had a bit of trouble with the team. Obviously, she's been put under a lot of pressure with the family business, but I find her a really good team manager, and I think she does a really good job at what she does.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I agree. And was that all the questions? I've lost track. So drivers, car, and team name. That was it. So yeah, team. What would it be called? What would your team be called?
No idea. I'm trying to think. I'm looking around to see for things to.
It's funny, yeah.
Not calling it after yourself, just calling it.
I have no idea.
Can't think of a name now.
I'm thinking.
What's your team name in karting? Do you have a team name in karting?
PMR. And yeah, PMR.
PMR. So PMR GP, PMR F1.
PMR race. That's a.
PMR stands for
like
Pullman Racing.
It does sound like it. That does sound like it, isn't it? So yeah, is that what you're going with?
Yeah,
PMR?
I'm just going with PMR.
PMR. Why not? Why not?
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Kai, that is the end of the interview.
Thank you.
You've been great to talk to. We've really enjoyed having you on. Again, a very different person. We always find different people every week almost. You're very young. You've got massive ambitions for the future, and what you've achieved is better than what some people have. Who've lived half their lives really.
Incredible.
Massive inspiration. As I say, you're going to go a long way in life, whatever path you choose, whether that's going to be commentary, karting, or whatever. You've got a long, big future ahead of you. And, with the accolades that you've had is absolutely incredible. And obviously, we want to thank you for being on our show, Kai. It's been great to talk to you today.
Thank you. It's been a great experience, and it's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Kai.
Thanks a lot, mate. Really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So as we've said, there's just one last thing from you, Kai, of course, as we said at the start.
Yeah.
This video comes out over the Monaco Grand Prix weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no jewel in the crown, but are you the jewel in the crown that we're talking to right now? Why is your interview the best? You said you're a fan of Monaco, and you said you want to be Martin Brundle walking down the track in Monaco for the 2030 Monaco Grand Prix. So are you the jewel in the crown of Formula One and, commentary that we're talking to right now?
At the moment, I'd say the jewel in the crown, obviously, with the lockdown situation. The jewel in the crown right now for motorsport has to be the sim racing we have going on the weekends with real racing drivers driving on the simulators. And I think I have a feeling that there's something special planned for the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, there is something special planned. It's us. Where's special plans? In this interview, man.
What a disappointment for them. Oh, look, we've got Kai, get in. Oh, no, it's them two from the debate show. Oh, God.
I think there's also going to be probably not the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
We'll have to see who races in that. And let's see if Lando Norris can actually stay in the lobby this time. In for the future, of course, we hope there's never another lockdown. But if there is, maybe you can be in it as well. We'll have to see. Hopefully not for that reason. But as I say, you're going to go a long way in this.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for being on our show, Kai. For everyone that's listening, thank you very much for being a part of this with this interview. Make sure to stay on track with us throughout the rest of the season, or what should be the season. Formula One or not, we have a lot more interviews lined up throughout the second series of F1 Online Decoded. So thank you very much for listening, guys. And from us and from Kai, we'll see you later.
Bye.
See you later, guys.